Andrew, it's great to have you here. You're a somewhat recent Portlander. You moved here from Brooklyn 2 years ago now?
It would be 2 years and 8 days.
Great. Can you just start by telling us a little bit? You're sheltering in place at home. You've got your wife is a physician. Has she been working?
Yeah, so I'm married to the region's greatest minimally invasive gynecological surgeon. She is out of the region's greatest private medical group, which is the Portland Clinic with multiple locations, but she's centered here in downtown. And if you need a friends and family discount, please reach out. She is doing telemedicine as well as video conference calls. But yes, I'm blessed to be married to such a brilliant surgeon.
So tell us about the PBA. Have you been forced to lay off people?
Yeah, so we're a 150-year-old institution, and like you said, we represent the region's employers, 1,900 businesses, and we're affiliated with Downtown Portland Clean and Safe, as well as Partners in Diversity. And yeah, we represent the big and the small and everywhere in between, and mostly across the 7-county metropolitan statistical area. And yeah, we're an events-driven business and also membership-based, and we've certainly taken a hit. I've personally, reduced my salary, and we've.
Andrew, can you just give us a sense what, on a percentage basis, how much of your payroll or how many people you had to lay off?
We've had to reduce our staff around a third.
So, Andrew, I want to talk about the economy and what you're hearing from your members, but the election took place a couple of days ago. This will broadcast a few days from now. But yours is a political organization. Your organization often takes positions on measures and individual races. The big one this year was that the PBA threw its shoulder behind the Metro homeless measure, which raised, I don't know, $500 million it was going to raise, and which passed. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
But this was a measure that would tax wealthy people and large businesses to raise money that would be distributed to counties almost in block grant form to help the homeless. It's a bit of a sea change for your organization. Before we started recording this, I told you that before you came to town, the PBA paid for a billboard that had a picture of a homeless man with a caption something along the lines of, "Your spare change feeds my addiction."
Mm.
It seems to me that your organization has had a sea change of attitudes about either homelessness or how to deal with it. A, am I right? And B, what do you attribute that to? I mean, I realize you weren't there then and you're there now, so I assume that's part of it. But
I think it was the confluence of a lot of different things that came together at the right moments, including my arrival. I used to work in homeless services back in New York, so I was a staff member of the largest homeless service provider in New York City, and I know the good, the bad, and the ugly there. And I just have to say, I credit the members who the cost of homelessness had so vastly outstripped the cost of this measure at this point. And really, I'm not trying to speak of that flippantly, but in real human terms, it was just almost a no-brainer to get behind this. So I credit our members fully for that. And I have the best team on the world, and they just have great instincts. And tactically speaking, this was the right thing to do. And humanly speaking, it felt really good to be behind it as well.
So, Andrew, let's shift to the economy. And I'm just wondering if, you've got, again, the city's largest employers as your members. They're probably talking to you constantly. What is this city going to look like in a year? Are we going to have empty, vacant blocks of office buildings that have no occupants because everyone's working from home now? Or try to imagine. And is Portland in a better or worse shape than other cities of its size?
I'm glad you're asking the question, because I'm going to just be as blunt as completely possible. And you'll hear me, I'm generally an optimist. This is really bad. It's really, really bad, and economically speaking. And and for the right reason, for better or for worse, as hard as it is to say that. And you've heard this, I'm not going to repeat it, but our state has moved quickly on the stay-at-home orders. We also, to answer your question about where we are in coming out of this, we are in better shape because all you had to do was go across the river and you saw shuttered construction sites and shuttered manufacturing. Come on our side of the river, all that was happening. And for us, the thing that I always brag about for the Portland regional economy is how we are centered in manufacturing. We're still a maker community. I mean, we have almost 1 in 5 jobs here is attributable to the manufacturing sector. And a lot of that is traded sector based. In other words, we send stuff in and out of the country more so than most other places.
Yep.
So the fact that our manufacturing sector continued to operate and we had such a low infection rate puts Oregon in a way better place to come out of this recession because of how strong our manufacturing sector is. And we have to be supportive of that group because it's the sort of engine that keeps us going. From a retail perspective, I think, and from the hospitality and events-based business, this is seriously a
softball question of the day for you. You had a job that was somewhat similar in Brooklyn, correct?
Yes, I did.
So describe for me, if you can, the difference between the Brooklyn business community and the one you're serving here in Portland.
Yeah, so we touched on this a little bit. So, I think it's more about an interesting evolution in Portland in conjunction with Brooklyn. But in Brooklyn, there's 2.7 million people live in one single county, which is 1/5 of the city of New York. It's Kings County. I still will always think of New York as the best that society can do because of how truly diverse it was. And if you look at Brooklyn, 2.7 million is the exact same size of the regional population of Portland. Some of the differences that you look at between Brooklyn and Portland is that in Brooklyn, 40% of those 2.7 million people were born in another country. Half of the homes, they spoke English as a second language. And everybody dug that, there was that spirit. And I think people here in Portland really embrace diversity, but we've had such a dark history here, a really dark past that we're trying to work through right now. And it shows up in a lot of different ways. And one thing that I note is that New York was as blue and as democratic and quote unquote progressive as you want to ascribe it. It was blue, 53 city council members, 52 of them were Democrats. You had a Democratic mayor, comptroller, public advocate. All the positions. It's a democratic city. But there was a love of entrepreneurialism. And I think it was based and ingrained in the DNA of the immigrant communities that made New York their home. Here, I think we're learning to embrace entrepreneurialism. That's not a 4-letter word. And I think that when it permeates cultures, ultimately percolates up into the political class. And I think we're starting to see that happen because Portland is becoming really, really hyper entrepreneurial. So I don't see the two being on balance yet, but it makes my job easier when people just naturally love entrepreneurs. And I think we're going to get there. But it has made my job a little more challenging, but I like a good challenge. And who we are. Portland has a super quirky, fun, cool attitude, and I dig it. But it has made the politics challenging at times. But this election, and you started the question off, so I would just say, broadly speaking, proved that when people collaborate with businesses, they've now learned that there's an open ear, right? And there's an opportunity to work with us to get to better policy. We love this city. It's a great city. People ought to be more proud of it. That's the one thing I also see is like this lack of team spirit. Like, it's okay to be from Portland. It's cool. Like, represent, and I think we just need a little bit more of that pride is the one thing I would say is a missing element.